Hey everyone, and welcome. So you've probably heard the term generative AI being thrown around everywhere lately, right? It's become this huge buzzword, but what does it actually mean? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and really figure out how it all works.
I mean, think about it. We're seeing AI create these incredible things that feel so human. Poetry, paintings, even music. It really makes you wonder, how is any of this even possible? In this explainer, we are going to break down the technology that makes it all happen. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a basic definition, then we'll zoom out to see where Gen AI fits into the whole AI family. After that, we'll pinpoint what really makes it generative, learn how we can talk to it, see some amazing examples, and finally, we'll get real about its incredible power and its biggest pitfalls. All right, let's dive right in. First things first, what exactly is generative AI? You know, the biggest clue is right there in the name, generative. This isn't an AI that just analyzes or sorts information that's already there. No, this AI generates brand new, original content. It actually creates things that did not exist before, all by learning the patterns from a mind-boggling amount of existing data. Now, to really wrap your head around this, it helps to see where generative AI fits in the bigger picture. I like to think of it kind of like those Russian nesting dolls, you know? You start with the biggest one and work your way in. So, on the very outside, the biggest doll is just artificial intelligence, or AI. This is the whole enchilada, the entire field of computer science dedicated to making machines that can think, learn, and act in ways we'd call intelligent.
Okay, pop that open, and one layer down, you've got machine learning. This is where things get really interesting. Instead of a programmer writing out every single rule, we just feed the machine a ton of data, and it learns how to make predictions all on its own. It's basically learning from experience.
And then, at the very core, the smallest all, we find deep learning. This is a super powerful kind of machine learning that uses these complex things called neural networks, which are, loosely inspired by the wiring of our own brains. And this is the home of generative AI. It's right there, at the cutting edge of deep learning. So how do these things actually learn? Well, think of it like this. With supervised learning, it's like we give the AI an answer key. We show it thousands of pictures that are already labeled dog or cat. But with unsupervised learning, it's like we just dump a giant, messy pile of photos on its desk and say, figure it out. It has to find the patterns all by itself. Modern Gen AI uses a really sophisticated mix of these approaches to make sense of the world. Okay, so we know Gen AI is a type of deep learning, but what is it that really makes it generative? Nailing this one difference is the key to, well, everything. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. A traditional AI model, what we call a discriminative model, looks at a photo and answers a question like, is this a dog or a cat? It sorts, it classifies. But a generative model, it responds to a command like, create a new picture of a dog. See the difference? It doesn't just label, it literally creates. Here's a really handy little trick for you to remember this. The y equals f of x test. If the output, the y in the equation, is a simple value, like a number, or a category like spam or not spam, it's almost certainly not generative AI. But if that y is brand new, unstructured stuff like a paragraph of text, a song, or a picture, yep, you're looking at Gen AI.
So, these models can create all this amazing new stuff. But how do we actually tell them what to create? This brings us to the really practical side of things, how we can communicate with them.
The key to it all is something called a prompt. It's really just the instruction we give the AI. It's our way of talking to the model, of steering it and telling it exactly what we want it to generate. Honestly, the art of writing good prompts is this whole new skill called prompt engineering.
And what's so cool is how we can get way better results just by changing how we ask. We can start with what's called a zero-shot prompt. That's just a straight-up command. Or we can do better by giving it one example to copy, which is called one-shot prompting. For the absolute best results, though, you use few-shot prompting, where you give it several examples. That really helps it lock in on the exact kind of thing you're looking for.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's get to the fun part. What can these models actually do? Let's take a look at generative AI in action.
I mean, the range of what this stuff can do is just staggering. It can generate text for anything, summarizing a huge report, answering questions, drafting emails for you. It can write computer code, find bugs in it, even translate it between programming languages. It can create unbelievable images just from a text description, compose music, create realistic speech. It can even generate video now. The list just keeps growing.
And check out this fantastic example of what it can do with text. Someone gave a model like Gemini this really deep, philosophical prompt, "The meaning of life is." And it doesn't just spit out some simple answer. It generates this nuanced, incredibly human-like response that understands the history and complexity of the question itself. It's just amazing.
Now, this technology is it's unbelievably powerful. But to be responsible users of it, we have to look at its limits too. So let's talk about both the power and the pitfalls.
One of the biggest pitfalls has a very weird name: hallucinations. This is a super important concept to get. It's when the AI just confidently makes something up. It'll generate an answer that sounds totally plausible, but it's just factually wrong or complete nonsense. It's not lying like a person would. It's just predicting the next word in a sequence, even if that sequence leads to something that isn't true.
So, why does this happen? Well, it usually boils down to the data it learned from or the instructions we gave it. Maybe it was trained on messy, incomplete information, or maybe our prompt wasn't specific enough and gave it too much wiggle room to go off the rails. It really is a classic garbage in, garbage out situation, which is why learning to use these tools well is so important.
And that kind of brings us full circle, back to our final thought. We started by asking how AI can create art and music, and now we have a much better idea of the how. So, as AI becomes this powerful co-creator, this creative partner, how are we going to redefine the boundaries between what's human creativity and what's machine creativity? It's a huge question and one we're all going to be figuring out together. Thanks so much for joining me to explore it.